In this lesson, we'll cover Copy Monitor, specifically for levels and grids. What is Copy Monitor? Copy Monitor is a tool to allow you to monitor various elements from one Revit project to another Revit project. So, for example, the Revit project we have open now is an MEP project. I'd actually like to link in my Revit Architects project and monitor the levels between projects. So that way, if a level changes in the Architects model, my model is updated as well. First off, let's look at the levels in the current MEP project. So in your project browser in the lower left, scroll down to Elevations and double-click the East Mechanical elevation. And I just want you to note the actual elevation names for each level. One is level 1 and one is level 2. Let's scroll back up in the project browser in the lower left and go back to the first floor plan. Double-click 1-Mechanical. So we go back to the first floor. Now let's link in our Revit Architects project. To do that, let's go to the Insert tab on the ribbon. All the way to the left, click Link Revit. And then when the window opens up to import or link a Revit file, browse to wherever you stored your Architect models or Revit models for this course and select the Architect Revit project for what we're going to insert. Change the positioning at the very bottom from Auto Center to Center to Auto Origin to Origin. That way, my Revit MEP project and the Architect's Revit project will be aligned origin to origin. And then click Open. Now, what will appear in my Revit MEP project is the actual Revit Architects project. It's linked in now. Kind of like if you're used to using AutoCAD, it's sort of like an X reference where it's referenced in. Now, let's take a look at the levels. So in the project browser in the lower left, scroll down again to Elevations and double-click East-Mechanical. Now this time when we go to this elevation view, we can see we have additional levels, along with the actual Revit Architects project as well. Go ahead and zoom in around those level names on the right. Now again, the MEP project had two levels, level 1 and level 2, which I still see, but there's additional levels, first floor, second floor, and roof. Those are actually levels from the Architects project. Now, we want to use Copy Monitor to actually monitor any changes, but first off, before we do that, we have a few discrepancies. One is the level names don't match. Two, level 2 doesn't match the second floor from the Architects project in height. So really what we want to do is we should rename our levels to match the Architects project. And we also should align them so they're at the same height. Now I'm going to rename each level. Simply click on the level and then click on the level name and then rename just by typing in the name of the actual level. In this case, I'm making this one first floor. Hit the Enter key. Go to level 2, click level 2, do the same thing. Type in second floor. Now, depending upon how you do this, and if you're prompted to rename the associated views, typically you don't want to do that because it could mess up your standards on how you have your views named. For example, if I look at the view names that I have here in my project browser, mine are called 1-Mechanical, 2-Mechanical. If I were to say rename, those would now become first floor and second floor, and that's going to mess up basically everything I have laid out here. So I tend to just rename the levels. Now the next step is to change the height. So under the second floor where it says 10 foot, again, go ahead and click on that actual level and then click again on the dimension. Let's change this to 12 feet. Simply type in 12. You don't need a foot mark because default units inside of Revit are feet. So I can just type 12 and hit the Enter key. That now moves that level up in line with the other level. Now that our levels are named the same and they're aligned, we can use Copy Monitor to monitor those. To do that, let's go to the Collaborate tab on your ribbon, and then over toward the right, you'll actually see an icon called Copy Monitor. There's two options on the dropdown. One says Use Current Project, the other one says Select Link. We're going to use Select Link, and what that will do is prompt me to pick whatever model you've linked in this case, the Revit Architects project. So I'll choose Select Link. When I do that, it's going to ask me to select the link of the project. Just move over one of the actual levels that were imported in. You see a blue boundary box appear saying that this is the Architect's model that you located or linked in. Go ahead and left click on it. Once you do the ribbon changes, we're now in the copy monitor phase of making modifications. So now to set what levels we're monitoring from the architect's project to our project, click Monitor on the ribbon. Once you do that, it's going to prompt you, first of all, to select your level in your project. So in this case, I'm going to click my first floor level. Go ahead and left click that. Secondly, it's going to ask me now, well, pick the level that corresponds to it from the architect's project. And I'll mouse over the first floor level in the architect's project and click it. The two are now bound together. Let's do the same thing for the second floor. Go up and choose the second floor level in your MEP project. Left click it. Now let's left click the level from the architect's model. Left click it. Now these two are now bound together. Now at this point, you could, if we wanted to, just end the copy monitor and those levels are now monitored. However, there is the one other level called roof. Now you don't always need to monitor every level, especially if it doesn't apply to what you're doing. But if you wanted to monitor the roof level, and since we don't have a roof level, what you would do is use the copy button. So on the ribbon, if I click copy, I can now select roof from the architect's model. And by doing so, it will make a copy of the roof into my current MEP project to monitor. So now these options are all set for copy monitor. Last step is simply to click finish. And now the settings are configured. So if the Revit Architect's model changes, specifically levels, I'll be notified through a message that there is some discrepancy between the architect's levels and or grid and what I currently have here in my MEP project. So as a review, what we learned in this lesson was how to use the copy monitor to monitor levels and grids from a linked Revit MEP project to a linked Revit Architect's project. We set up the levels so that way they're linked from one project to another project, and then we turned on monitoring.